warning for this podcast episode. We're going to be saying some words that some people think are bad, or some people maybe conflate with other four-letter words. Welcome to Aspire to Retire with Ralph Short, Tim Short, and Scott Earhart of Welcome Home Financial Partners. You can find them online, welcomehomefp.com. You got the podcast link there. Just open up the description, click there. It'll take you right to their page, welcomehomefp.com. My name is Chris Vaughn, and as always, I am pleased to be joined by the one and only Ralph Short, Tim Short, and Scott Earhart. Gentlemen, glad to be with you. How are you?
Great to be here.
How are you, Chris?
Doing well. Just happy to spend some time with you guys and share wisdom with the listeners. Also get a little wisdom of my own, being able to secondhand pick up that information. So appreciate you guys taking the time to spend with them here. Let's talk about this because I mentioned, I said, might be saying some bad words here. Not FCC, nothing to ruffle your feathers, make you clutch your pearls, but the word annuity. There are some in the financial world that consider that a bad word. But Elizabeth O'Brien from Barron, she says the stigma behind the word annuities and annuities in general, it's largely outdated.
Well, these are not your father's annuities. These are different. The annuities that got a bad rap, and sometimes deservedly so, were often variable annuities that had very high fees, high surrender charges. They were just not the greatest investments. But the ones that are now starting to crop up in 401k plans are fixed annuities, which have historically been lower cost. Now in 401k plans, they're even lower because you've got institutional pricing. And so they're definitely a different breed of annuity that's worth a look to divert a portion of your 401k into guaranteed income for life.
So the problem, though, is that while annuities have been permitted in 401ks for a few years now, there's only about 13% of plans that actually offer them. So if that is the case, what can people do? What is the next best step for them?
Sure. That's a great question, and a question I think all three of us get quite often as we meet with people. People are looking for safety in their 401ks, especially when you enter into, what we call the retirement red zone. You're on the precipice of retirement. You don't want all that risk in your 401k. And while several years ago, laws were passed that allow for annuities to enter into that market, the 401k, the benefits market hasn't really latched onto it. As you said, only 13% will give access to some level of annuity inside a 401k plan. So when we meet with people, or at least when I meet with people that are looking for a bit of that safety, we need to talk about in-service withdrawals, and they need to chat with someone outside of their 401k provider. There's nothing wrong with 401k providers. They do a great job of helping people accumulate wealth for retirement, but they are only going to show you what's available in your plan. So meeting with a financial professional that is independent outside of that to help you explore those options, such as an in-service withdrawal to protect some of that money, is something I'd highly recommend.
What I would say, too, is for a lot of people, if you don't understand something, it's very scary. And most people have never talked about annuities because from a financial advisor standpoint, most of them really don't understand it, or they don't make as much money from management fees because there's a lot of things in there that go into trying to figure out what you need to do. But if what you're looking for is a better understanding, is you do need to really talk to somebody that's more or less a retirement-focused fiduciary that can allow you to understand how they work. And like she said a while ago, this is not the old type, what I call annuitization programs that's been out there. Most people don't like annuities because they've heard they lose control of their money. They've lost, when they die, they lose everything. That may be possible in certain things, but you need to understand what it is that you're trying to do. We need to understand as an advisor what you're trying to accomplish so we can focus and hone in on to the solution to your issues at that point in time.
Yeah. And the biggest thing, Chris, is that a lot of people don't understand what annuities do, right? But there's different types of annuities. Not all annuities are created equally, just like we are, right? So there's so many things that you've got to focus in on. If you want some safety, there could be an annuity for that. If you want some growth, there could be an annuity for that. It all depends on that each individual circumstance, right? Everybody's individual situation, depending on what you're going to need for retirement. And that's the big thing. Would we recommend an annuity to a 20-year-old? More than likely, probably not, right? But everybody's in a different position in life. And as you get closer to retirement, most folks want to have the peace of mind to make sure they don't run out of their money. An annuity could fit in there, but it's not for everyone.
I used to play golf with another financial advisor that didn't work with fixed products whatsoever. And I kind of I always think about this story whenever people tell me annuities are a bad word. And he and I would play golf, and we'd talk about our practices, and he'd go, Scott, what do you think about it? And I said, well, we use them from time to time. I mean, if it's right for the client, we'll use it. And he goes, oh, they're horrible. I'd never use them. I said, why not? He goes, because I don't want my clients committing a nuicide. I said, what's a nuicide? He goes, well, where I can't make any fees anymore.
There's a lot of that out there, that's for sure. But, it's kind of like if you take a look at a problem, and if you have 5 different solutions, but you only have one that's being presented to you, how do you know if you got the right solution or not? That's why you need to go to somebody that has more holistic approach to solving your financial issues. Everybody's going to have issues. We have to determine what it is that you have so we can help you solve those problems. Would you agree?
That is correct. We all do have issues, but
some of us more than others, right, Tim?
Oh, exactly. You beat me to the punch, Ralph. You beat me to the punch.
So that's the important thing is a lot of people, when they hear the word annuity, they do run away and they're like, no, I've been told it's bad for so long. Well, why is that? Well, I don't know. I mean, we have that conversation quite a bit. It's all about you, what you need for retirement, what you want for retirement, and you've got to figure out what you need in order to create that retirement income. So, we sit down, we have the retirement roadmap process where we take a look at where they currently are, where they want to go, and then we figure out a great plan based off that situation. And that's what's important.
Hey, Chris, let me ask you a question. Do you feel like income in retirement is a problem?
I think for a lot of people, it definitely is. It's the top concern, I think, among retirees is not having income, later on in their retirement.
And I would also say to you is that if there's a solution to resolve that issue, why should that be a problem?
I think it's a good fix and hopefully lay some of those concerns to bed. It's one of those things where the stigma behind it is perhaps from older breeds of annuity, and it would be irresponsible, I think, to make a blanket statement like saying all annuities are bad or all annuities are good. Depending on what you need, it's kind of like a tool in your toolbox. There are certain times where you're going to need a drill or you're going to need a hammer or you're going to need a specialty tool. And that is what an annuity can be as part of your retirement toolbox, to provide that income or perhaps a little bit of principal protection or, there's various facets behind it. But to have it be the entirety of your toolbox, have it be a Swiss Army knife that's supposed to do everything, that's not the right answer. And to, not even entertain the possibility of needing it is also not the answer. The team at Welcome Home Financial Partners, they are not product driven. They don't care on a particular product. They are solution driven. They want to make sure that whatever it is you need to achieve in your retirement, it is done, whether that is with an annuity or other strategies out there. So if you have questions about this, if you've heard the stigma behind annuities and you want a little bit more insight on that to see how it could be part of your retirement strategy, could be, again, operative word there, and a portion of your retirement, just click on the link there in the podcast description. Go to welcomehomefp.com, set up a time to speak with them, get a little bit more education and insight. And remember, acting in your best interest, they're not going to be concerned with or recommend something just because company X, Y, or Z is telling them to do. But if they do believe that it is going to work for you, they're going to provide that information. And ultimately, at the end of the day, let you make that decision. Again, the website is welcomehomefp.com. There is another facet when it comes to providing that guaranteed source of income in retirement, and that is Social Security. I think we all, have paid into that, and so we all expect to receive that when we turn it on. And you've told us that to get the absolute max benefits from Social Security, you should take it at age 70. The longer you wait, the more you get. But most Americans, they actually claim it much earlier than that. What is the impact there on benefits if you start taking it at 62 or 67, or if you wait all the way to 70? Are there good reasons to even entertain taking it at the earliest age?
That's a good question, Chris. And I think what it comes down to, once again, is everybody's individual situation. But if you claim it at 62, which generally is the earliest that you can, it's about 30% less of a benefit to you, right? So a lot of people sit there and look at the numbers. Most folks nowadays, anybody over who was born after 1960, their full retirement age is age 67, right? So people take a look at 62, 67, or 70, and they say, well, obviously, I should wait to 70 because that's a positive 24% benefit impact. So everybody's a little bit different. We see people every day that come in and will say, hey, you know what? I've paid into the system for a very long time. I'm going to go ahead and get it at 62. Then we've got people that say, hey, my spouse never worked. So it's beneficial for both of us if I delay it as long as possible. So there's strategies you can do to maximize your Social Security, but sometimes that doesn't fall in suit with your retirement plan. So everybody's going to be different. It's all about the numbers. But of course, the only way we know the right answer is if we know when our expiration date comes, right? Mm-hmm. That's what I like to label it as, is an expiration date. Because we don't know. We're all going to pass away at some point in time. We just don't know when. If we live to age 100, it was probably better to wait to 70. But if we die at 63, well, guess what? We should have claimed it at 62. So there's a lot of things that come into play, and it's not just taking a look at the higher number.
But I would also say, too, it depends on that individual's health, because people will come in and ask me about that. I say, well, it's better for you from a financial standpoint if you can afford to wait without needing any income until 70 because you got other sources. But if you have health issues that you don't think you're going to be around much past 67, then I would suggest that you probably take a look at, probably getting a little bit earlier. But particularly if you're not married, then that means that you're going to get everything that you can get. But you could pass it on to your wife. So there's always different solutions based on that individual. But also at the same time, a lot of people come in, like Tim was saying, they paid into it. They want to get it as quick as you can. But if you're still working between 62 and your full retirement age, how's that going to affect you? Most people don't realize that if you make over a certain amount of money during those years before your full retirement age, you're going to pay some of that back if you make more money. So why are you going to claim it just so you can get it to pay it back to the government? And I know that this is a little bit after a tax season, but I don't like writing any more checks to the government than I need to. What about you, Chris?
No. I write a hefty one, and I'd like to write less if possible.
I think everybody would agree with you there. And to Ralph's point, if we claim early, we do have that income threshold. And I think every time I talk with somebody about that, they are absolutely shocked at how low that threshold is. You don't have to earn very much money if you claim Social Security early to start having to pay Uncle Sam back on your Social Security. So it's just something to be very mindful of. And what I'd add into this general discussion is it's such an individual decision. When we sit down with people and we can help them with the road mapping process to show them their income throughout their retirement, that is what helps me drive when I give advice on when we should claim Social Security. We're working with a new couple, and they were actually shocked because I told both of them to claim at 62. It works for their retirement plan. It's right for them. And they told me that every other advisor they had met with said, oh, no, you got to wait till 70. You got to wait till 70. Well, for them in their specific plan, their specific instance, it's best to claim at 62. So it's completely an individual decision. And I think that's a lot of why we built out the Social Security presentation for our First Friday events, to help people understand not what's necessarily right for everybody, but the rules and regulations around Social Security, and help them make a decision on what's best for them.
I would say, too, if you needed to wait till age 70, that's great advice if you can. But what if you have to make it until age 70? If you don't have enough income between now and then, what are you going to do? So like Scott says, every decision that you make should be based on you and what you're trying to do, not what some talking head from the newspaper or somebody else is saying, because they don't know what your particular situation is.
Oh, completely agree.
Yeah. And what's often overlooked is the spouse in this decision. Yes. We've got a lot of people that
nobody would ever overlook their spouse, Tim. You would never do that.
Well, nobody shouldn't. Let's put it that way.
Nobody in here would. I can attest to that. But, a lot of people, the mother or the father, they stayed home while they raised their kids, right? So they never really worked. So their benefit, if they're going to get any kind of benefit, it's pretty minimal. So if it fits in with your retirement plan, if you delay it, then that's going to be more your spouse gets once your demise happens. So there's a lot of things that you got to take a look at. It's not as cut and dry as people think it is. Once again, they go back to look at, hey, at age 62, this is my benefit, 67, this is my benefit, or 70, this is my benefit. Well, obviously, we want the higher number, but you've got to get there. So does it make sense to draw down on your assets if you don't have a pension and you retire at 60, right? So it's all dependent on the individual situation. And we always go back to the roadmap. The retirement roadmap that we do is a big piece of the Social Security optimization.
I would also say to you, Chris, is the fact that it's not just about that big pot of money at the end of the rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is we do not know what's going to happen with Social Security over the next 10 years.
Yes.
It's probably going to change, but we just don't know. But you have to be ready for changes in life. I don't know about you, but over my short years on this earth.
Did he say short?
It's his last name. It's your last name. Yeah, no, it makes sense.
that things have changed over our lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
and things will continue to change over your lifetime. If you think everything is set in stone and you got everything perfectly ironed out, guess what? There's going to be something that throw a curveball in your life projections.
When life changes, it is rarely inexpensive. And I'm glad you brought up the conversation around Social Security and all the uncertainty around it right now. Do you have people that are coming in saying, Social Security is going to, run out of money in 10 years. I need to go ahead and take it now to claim what I can while I can.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, people do it all the time. They've been doing it now for the last 10 plus years, right? There's always the rumor mill about, hey, what's going to happen here? What's going to happen there? That's something we have zero control over.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, we've got to factor that in. But anybody who relies on Social Security as their retirement plan, that's not a good strategy.
You better think again.
Right. Because in 2033, that's the last year that we've heard that there's going to be some changes, right? What those changes look like, we've heard from means testing. We've heard a whole bunch of different, solutions the government labels it as for Social Security. But we've got some time, right? So we have some time. Hopefully somebody up there can make the right decisions and we can prolong this ticking time bomb, if you will.
And knowing the expediency that the government works with, we probably won't hear these solutions, a finalized version of it, until, I'm going to guess, 2032. So panic is not the answer.
You are an optimist. You are an optimist.
People
on that.
December
always say that about me.
Of 2032.
Yeah, exactly. People always say I'm an optimist. It is about controlling what you can control. It is about finding your particular circumstances. And there's a lot of nuance in there. That is why being able to claim a 62 is an option. If it was wrong for everybody out there, they wouldn't make it available. But figuring out what is going to work best for you takes more than just, listening for the past, couple minutes here on the podcast. Obviously, making you more aware of it, that is important. The next step is reaching out to the team. Click the link right there in the podcast description. Take you right to their page. Find out more about the retirement roadmap. Set up a time to speak with them. Figure out the strategy that's going to work best for you and your spouse. Not just with Social Security, but with your retirement as a whole. The website, again, welcomehomefp.com. And we want to thank you for joining us here on Aspire to Retire with Ralph Short, Tim Short, and Scott Earhart. Hope you have a great day ahead of you. Gentlemen, hope you have a great day. And as we wrap up here, I want to leave you with the final word.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Chris. So we do want to thank everybody for listening, but we talked a little bit about annuities. We talked a little bit about Social Security. Those are two things that a lot of folks don't really want to put into perspective. So if you're listening and you've got some questions, please feel free to reach out, and we appreciate it.
All content is for information purposes only. It is not intended to provide any tax or legal advice or provide the basis for any financial decision, nor is it intended to be a projection of current or future performance or indication or future results. Opinions expressed herein are solely those of Welcome Home Financial Partners and Welcome Home Wealth Advisors, LLC. The information contained in this material has been derived from sources believed to be reliable, but is not guaranteed as to accuracy and completeness and does not purport to a complete analysis of the materials discussed. All information and ideas should be discussed in detail with your individual advisor prior to the implementation. Each individual investor's situation is different, and any ideas provided may not be appropriate for your particular circumstance. Advisor services are offered by Welcome Home Wealth Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor in the state of Virginia. Being registered as an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training. Insurance products and services are offered through WPI Holding, Virginia Insurance License Number 138509, an affiliated company. The information contained herein should in no way be construed or interpreted as a solicitation to sell or offer to sell advisory services to any resident of any state other than the state of Virginia or where otherwise legally permitted. Welcome Home Wealth Advisors, LLC, and Welcome Home Financial Partners are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any government agency.